नाउ 16th BRICS Summit पहले कहाँ हुआ? तो कजान, इट्स अ सिटी इन रशिया. फॉर प्रिलिमिनरी एग्जामिनेशन यू शुड आल्सो नो दिस, है ना. इट वाज हेल्ड देयर इन अक्टूबर 2024. व्हाट वाज द थीम? देखो अब थीम ना, जनरली यू विल सी देयर थीम विल बी इन ओवरलैप विद द एम. एम क्या क्या है? ब्रिक्स के एम क्या है? पहला एम, मोर लेजिटिमेट इंटरनेशनल सिस्टम, है ना. प्रमोटिंग साउथ साउथ कोऑपरेशन, ये सब एम है ना. स्टैंडिंग मल्टीलेटरलिज्म फॉर जस्ट ग्लोबल डेवलपमेंट एंड सिक्योरिटी. जस्ट मतलब फेयर ग्लोबल डेवलपमेंट एंड सिक्योरिटी के लिए मल्टीलेटरलिज्म को स्ट्रेंथन करना. दिस वाज द थीम ऑफ दिस समिट, द रीसेंट समिट. इंडिया से पीएम मोदी हैड अटेंडेड द समिट. लेट्स लुक एट व्हाट वर द की थिंग्स. Kazan Declaration was accepted at the summit. तो जनरली ये होता है, जहां पे भी समिट होता है वहां पे एक डिक्लेरेशन इज एक्सेप्टेड बाय द मेंबर कंट्रीज. दैट डिक्लेरेशन बेसिकली सेज what are the key outcomes of BRICS summit, what are the key things on which BRICS countries agreed upon together. एक 2000 I think 2014 या 15 में the summit was held in Brazil at a place called Fortaleza. और 2015 प्रिलिमिनरी एग्जामिनेशन में क्वेश्चन आया था, फोर्टालेजा डिक्लेरेशन किससे एसोसिएटेड है, या फोर्टालेजा सिटी कहां लोकेटेड है. समथिंग लाइक दिस वाज आस्क्ड इन द 2015 एग्जामिनेशन. इन द सेम वे काजान डिक्लेरेशन किससे एसोसिएटेड है, या काजान सिटी कहां लोकेटेड है. वी शुड बी इन अ पोजीशन टू आंसर फ्रॉम द प्रिलिमिनरी एग्जामिनेशन पर्सपेक्टिव. नाउ व्हाट आर द की आउटकम्स? देखो, ऑन पीस एंड सिक्योरिटी what does the BRICS Kazan Declaration consist of? See, in the global peace and security scenario right now, there are two issues going on. One is Russia's war on Ukraine. Other is Israel-Palestine issue. अब देखो, Russia's war on Ukraine पे तो बहुत ज्यादा डिस्कशन या क्रिटिसिज्म यहां नहीं होगा, बिकॉज ब्रिक्स समिट है. तो on the matter of peace and security, they primarily focused on Israel-Palestine issue. BRICS called for an immediate and comprehensive ceasefire, unconditional release of all hostages, and establishment of independent state of Palestine होना चाहिए, sorry, Palestine. एक और इजराइल कहां बना? Palestine. अब हाँ सर, दिस शोज ना कि मैं कॉपी पेस्ट नहीं कर रहा हूं. आई एम टाइपिंग थिंग्स एंड टाइप करते टाइम मन में कुछ और होता है, उंगलियों में कुछ और टाइप हो जाता है. कभी कॉपी पेस्ट कर रहे होते तो सीधा सही सही चीजें कॉपी पेस्ट होती. आई प्रेफर टू टाइप. समटाइम्स मुझे ना एग्जैक्टली वही पैराग्राफ भी यहाँ नोट करना होता है. आई डोंट कॉपी इट, आई टाइप इट. उसका रीजन है कि आई शुड बी काइंड ऑफ गोइंग थ्रू ईच एंड एवरी वर्ड वेरी केयरफुली बिफोर आई टीच दोस थिंग्स इन क्लास. तो कई बार ये मिस्टेक्स हो जाती है. तो दिस वाज व्हाट दे सेड. इजराइल डिडंट गिव अ डैम अबाउट इट. उन्होंने ईरान पे मिसाइल डाल दिए, है ना. Israel has not paid any heed to this declaration and has even directly attacked Iran, which is now a BRICS member. Okay, then on Russia-Ukraine war, they said members have called for end of war through dialogue and diplomacy, while underlining the need to address the root cause of the conflict. So basically, यहाँ पे when you look at Russia-Ukraine वाले matter पे, उन्होंने बोला yes to dialogue and diplomacy, what should end? War should end, but there should be focus on root cause. So basically, Russia is trying to emphasize कि रूट कॉज है, यूक्रेन को आप नाटो में लेके जाना चाह रहे थे. ऑल दीज थिंग्स वुड थ्रेटन Russia's security. To avoid anything that may be threatening Russia's security, then the war would indirectly. This is the message. Then आप एनालिसिस देखोगे, सिचुएशन इन वेस्ट एशिया वाज द मेन सिक्योरिटी रिलेटेड टॉपिक इन द जॉइंट स्टेटमेंट, डिस्पाइट डिफरिंग स्टांसेस अमंग द मेंबर्स ऑन मैटर्स सच एज इजराइल हमास कॉन्फ्लिक्ट और हाउथी अटैक ऑन रेड सी. तो बेसिकली हियर वी आर ट्राइंग टू से कि on the issue of peace and security in BRICS summit, what was the main thing discussed? Israel-Palestine war, despite the fact that India has a different perspective on Israel-Palestine, different official stand on Israel-Palestine. Okay, then on economic and financial cooperation, on peace and security, we understood what was there in the, what was discussed in the BRICS summit, or what was there in the Kazan Declaration. on economic and financial cooperation. BRICS rejected Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, CBAM. We have to study CBAM in more detail, but through CBAM mechanism, European Union will be in a position, when CBAM comes into force, it will be in a position to hamper exports from India. Yes. Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, when it comes into play, European Union will be able to restrict exports from countries like India on the grounds that इसपे बहुत सारा carbon emission हुआ है and so. So BRICS has rejected CBAM, calling it discriminatory, and this is echoing India's stand. India has been criticizing CBAM for a long time. So in economic matter, one thing that has happened is we have, or BRICS Summit we have criticized, or Kazan Declaration has criticized Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism of European Union. Then it is also advocated for trade settlement in local currencies. US dollar में trade होता है generally. It has advocated, or it is promoting trade settlement in local currencies or de-dollarization. Now, it's not happening. It's going to take some time. Even if countries intend to do it, there are problems. जैसे रशिया एंड इंडिया में लोकल करेंसी में कुछ ट्रेड होता है, बट देन इंडिया imports so many things from Russia. Russia ends up getting a lot of rupee. अब उस रुपी का क्या करे? Russia does not want a lot of things from India. In that scenario, Russia declines. In that scenario, Russia declines कि नहीं, Indian rupee तो नहीं ले पाएंगे. So these problems do occur. But if we start using local currency, in long run, dependency on US dollar and thus interference of US will reduce in these economies. Then suggestion for BRICS currency or a digital currency got a lot of attention. एक digital currency या एक BRICS currency, so that BRICS nation will be able to, रुपी में नहीं, रशिया की करेंसी में नहीं, चाइना की करेंसी में नहीं, ब्राजील की करेंसी में नहीं, साउथ अफ्रीका की करेंसी में नहीं, देयर मे बी सम लिमिटेशंस, बट वी कैन हैव, लाइक EU में वी हैव यूरो, in the same way we can have BRICS currency for trading among BRICS countries. So this would require deeper integration of the diverse economic situation and institutional framework. Abhi there's no scope in next 4-5 years this is going to come. There are still discussions going on. So on economic matters this was also discussed. Then issue of deeper financial and banking cooperation will continue to be studied by finance ministers of the member state. On economic issues, these were the broad areas which were there. Then the declaration also called for elimination of unilateral economic sanction. मल्टीलेटरलिज्म प्रमोट कर रहे हैं और बोल रहे हैं जो ये कंट्रीज करते हैं ना, यूएस इकोनॉमिक सैंक्शन लगा देती है रशिया पे, यूएन लगाए. यूनिलेटरल सैंक्शंस आर नॉट गुड. यूएस रशिया पे लगा देती है, यूएस ईरान पे लगा देती है, एंड बोथ द कंट्रीज आर नाउ मेंबर्स ऑफ ब्रिक्स. These measures are contrary to international law and have far-reaching implications of human rights. Russia was successful in pushing through the issue of sanctions in the final declaration. Generally, what has happened so far, because India has its own trade relations with US, India के forex reserve में it is the US dollar which is the most important currency. In that scenario, India had avoided कि in BRICS declaration and all, we would not be including provisions related to sanction or criticism of sanctions, which may be bilateral issue between those two countries. But this time, despite India's opposition, it was eventually included, and India also accepted it. So Russia was successful in pushing through the issue of sanctions in its final declaration. It is well known that India has been reluctant to mention this in bilateral and multilateral documents with Russia over the past decade. This might represent a transition of BRICS to a more assertive public stance against sanctions. Now, India has avoided doing this, but this time we have kind of accepted it. This indicates what? BRICS may be ready to take a more assertive stance against the issue of sanction. With Iran becoming a new member and Cuba and Belarus gaining partner country status, the issue of economic sanction is expected to continue to loom large in BRICS agenda. Iran पे भी sanction लगते हैं. Cuba and Belarus both have become partner countries, and they have also faced various sanctions from US. And thus, the issue of sanction or criticism of sanctions is going to be perhaps a frequent part of BRICS declaration in future also. This is what we are trying to analyze here. Okay, then there was also crucial decision related to groupings expansion. At Kazan, there was an agreement on guidelines for the admission of new tier of partner countries. Member countries नहीं, member countries के अलावा भी एक new tier of countries which will be able to become part of BRICS as partner countries. उनके लिए guidelines were finalized where in the BRICS Summit. 13 countries have been invited to join groups as partner countries. Bilateral negotiations are also happening on the sidelines, which have had various positive impact. We already talked about this. Ki India and China were able to settle the border dispute in East, but not settle the border dispute, or rather we should say settle the immediate tensions which are going on in the Ladakh region, in the Doklam region, because of the BRICS Summit. So, अगर आप देखोगे successes, तो Russia through this summit was able to show that it was not without friends. With so many countries participating in BRICS Summit, it indicated that Russia is not isolated, or Putin has not been able to, or US has not been able to isolate Putin. India and China have asserted that they have restored normalcy on Sino-Indian ties following an agreement on border patrolling and disengagement. This might herald a new beginning in the ties between two states. There are new entrants who are able to see success in ensuring membership in a privileged non-Western club. So far, these countries, Saudi Arabia and all, they are able to become part of some Western club. But developing countries के most important countries के club में, these Iran, Saudi Arabia, Ethiopia, Egypt, or UAE were not able to become part of. This time they have been able to become part of it. So this is kind of positive for them also. So there is positive for Russia, there is positive for India and China from the summit, there is positive for other member countries also. But there are some limitations also, some criticisms also. Some people say that summit में ना ज़्यादा कुछ हुआ नहीं. It has become a talking mall. जहाँ बातें हो रही हैं, कुछ effective काम नहीं हो रहा. For example, on the issue of UNSC membership of Brazil, India and South Africa, almost no progress was made. There have been, like, the declaration should have included key UNSC reforms need to take place, and because what is the first objective, first aim that we discussed? More legitimate international system. Us more legitimate international system में a country like India needs to have a permanent place in UNSC. Kazan Declaration should have included it. It hasn't. Then BRICS Cross-Border Payment Initiative, a plan to launch a new multinational platform that would include financial messaging component and allow for the conduction of settlement via tokens backed by either national or digital currency, has not yet received positive response from other members. So basically, abhi now international transaction happen through a system called SWIFT. वो more or less US के control में. In that scenario, what happens? अगर US sanction लगाता है, the other countries start facing problems in the payment and settlement system. So BRICS have plans of their own cross-border payment initiative, but it hasn't seen a lot of progress. And dilemma is well understood. Russia perceives the creation of an alternative payment system as the need of the hour, as it is facing a lot of sanctions from the Western world, whereas other members are more cautious to move away from US dollar and SWIFT because a lot of their trade, a lot of their forex reserves are in what? In the form of US dollar. So this is also a limitation, not a lot of progress happening here. Then BRICS grain exchange. We said that Africa is becoming more interested in BRICS because the prospect of grain exchange can be good for investment in their agriculture sector. But यहाँ पे भी the development of BRICS grain exchange and further a larger trading platform for other commodities appears to be long-term prospect that will depend on ability to agree on currency settlement and insurance issues. There was also this expectation that in the new development bank, there will be a lot of capital investment. Capital of NDB will be increased with Saudi Arabia becoming a member. But Saudi Arabia भी full time member नहीं बना है, तो decision on huge capital increase in new development bank has also not made much progress in the summit. So in the summit, there has been certain positive things for Russia, for India, China, for new member countries, but there have been certain limitations also. तो एक यहाँ पे हम जो summit के बारे में अगर क्वेश्चन आता है, critically evaluate the outcomes of the 16th BRICS Summit. If the question is this, so you will talk about what were the outcomes. Evaluate करोगे तो ये positive चीजें हैं और ये some challenges रहे हैं. तो if you have to conclude in a way where you say that BRICS Summit was not able to achieve a lot, you will say the Kazan Summit has hinted that BRICS is being refashioned into a new talk mall where representatives exchange on critical geoeconomic and geopolitical issues don't necessarily translate into tangible outcomes. While we're discussing a lot of things, but BRICS level pe, India China level pe, there has been some tangible outcome, big tangible outcome. But BRICS ke level pe, what has been a major outcome of this summit? To know, they have discussed a lot of things, but there has not been a major outcome of the summit.